looking at adding in mold labeling or mold decorating, you know, what are some other questions, you know, Ryan touched on it, but what are some of the things they need to take into consideration if it's really something that's, potentially something that they should look at very carefully?
Yeah, so I think one of the first things that we always take into consideration, which Ryan touched on already, is just volumes. You know, what are the number of parts that you're going to be looking at, you know, on a yearly basis. You know, what's the EAU? It drives cavitation. Kind of drives clearly it drives the whole process. You know, are there any post-molding operations? I mean, is there any type of assembly after molding, after decoration? You know, is there any inserts that are being installed? Is there any negating, any trimming, any additional assembly that's happening? You definitely want to ask that up front. You know, what type of customization, what type of flexibility is required? You know, are there multiple SKUs? Are there multiple sizes of product, right? That maybe you have multiple molds, but you have an interchangeable IML system. I know at Sussex, that's one thing that we do quite a bit. You know, we're always moving equipment around all the time as a custom molder. You really want to understand up front how many SKUs you're going to be working with, how many different decorations you're going to be working with, so that you can offer flexibility and work with the customer up front on that.
I would say the only thing to add is if you're going to get into it for the first time, you've got to look at the system holistically. So if it's a machine, it's a robot, it's a mold, it's downstream, it's your people. If there are mistakes made, it's when somebody says, well, we're just going to look at one aspect. We're going to go buy a brand new mold, we're going to use this existing piece of automation maybe, or an existing machine, or without training your people. So I think the way to be successful, especially if you're just getting into it, which is kind of the nature of the question, is to look at the big picture. I mean, I gave a talk here about 15 years ago about the need to consider a turnkey partner. It could be the machine supplier, it could be the robot supplier, it could be another integrator that kind of looks at that whole thing together before you just go on down the road and realize, you know, now what? I just went here and now what do I do? I mean, story I tell, I won't list the molder's name, but they got into IML, they got a big contract with a food company, and they bought a mold, and then they decided to go ahead and put labels in it. So it's a lid mold for the top of a cup, and the way it was gated, you know, when you do IML, you need to reverse gate that so you can get the gate behind the label. So they put a big hole, a traditional lid would just have the hole at the top. So now you've got this beautiful piece of artwork with a hole right in the center, and that's exactly what the customer's going to look at. So we got called in and said, well, what do you need to do? And I said, you need a new mold, right? The whole thing just went, you know, so they went from IML to pressure sensitive, so they could actually, and they had probably a line of, and I'm not kidding, 8 to 10 people peeling and sticking labels, right? So it can go sideways if you don't think it through.